sort of irregular, so there could be a spelling error somewhere. So the thing is, when you have some, usually like this is deliberate, so you have form container, and then the class here is form container, so that's a typo. And because this is programming, nothing works, so you have to ensure that the class name matches what you're declaring here as a class name. So when you have this and then you refresh that, and you have it, everything coming in place. Now, so now, irrespective of where you're viewing it from, whether it's uh, the desktop or from mobile, you have a good view of. So when you have something like that, and then you have it on mobile, you have something like this. So everything works, you know, pretty much, well, irrespective of where people are viewing it from. Okay, so that's about the viewport. And you can target different screen. You look at responsive, and look at the elements. You can target different screen. You see that when this you know is expanding, this is 8896. So you can, it's based on that's what will influence what you put here. That's what will influence what you put, and you don't just put any value, so you can have that. See at what point does, so I think it behave pretty well. So at all points everything looks good. So this from desktop to mobile. Okay, good. Now let's move on to, you know now when people submit this form, nothing happens. And they submit this form, nothing happens, and all of that. So what I want is, when they submit this form, let's be able to get data that is being submitted. So and we're going to get that done with JavaScript. Now this is how we write JavaScript on our page. um, JavaScript is written on HTML page using a script tag, just like you write style on your page using a style tag. So you can write your script on your header, or you can write it just before the closure of the body. But if the script is not essential for the page load, it's better, or it's best, to have your JavaScript just before the closure of the body. So this is going to, would not affect the speed at which your page loads. So you have it here like this. I'm going to have uh, scripts, and I have the scripts load. So in the earlier on, you have to specify script, you say type equals to JavaScript and all of that. But modern browsers know, when you say script, they know that you're talking about JavaScript. Okay, so what we want to do is, we want to be able to submit this form, and when we submit this form, we want to be able to get the inputs that the user submits into this form without using any library, no jQuery, no nothing, just pure JavaScript. So that's what we're going to do. Now when user fill in this form, I can say, okay, I want document is talking about your web, your entire page. So you can use what we call get elements. So all these get element by ID, or get element by class name, or get elements by name, or get elements by tag name, to target a particular element. So what we're interested in are these form elements. We have the input, we have type equals to text, and name equals to full name. I have another input, type equals to email, name equals to email, ID equals to that. Now, so if I want to target this element, I want to know when a user fills this. When a user fills this, I want to get the data that the user fills into this element. So I can do that by saying, talking to my page, so from this page, get elements. So I say get elements. So if I say by tag name, it means I'm talking to this is input tag, this is input tag. So there are a lot of them. So when I say get element by tag name, it's going to give me a lot of them. So, and that would not be appropriate to get the full name in this instance, because there are a lot of input fields that have there are a lot of fields that have a tag name input, so that won't be appropriate. And this is why sometimes you have this ID there. So when you say get element by ID, it means get element whose ID is the ID that you're about to specify. You can also target an element by, say, class name. So you can come here and specify a class. You may not use that class for anything. The essence of that class could be so that you can get the value in the HTML. So let's say I say get element by ID, and I say which ID. So this ID that I specify here, say full name, and I say dot value. So when I do that, this would get, so this is already talking to this any element whose ID is full name, and on this page the only element that has ID full name is this. Alright, so the value of it, because input field will always have value, and the value is what the user fills in. So, and in JavaScript, you declare a variable, say let's say variable, or if you like, you don't call it var, automatically this is var. So I say full name equals to what this user says, what the user fills in. So I can say alert, you know, alert full name. So when you save that, what you're going to see is, because users has not filled anything here, you just see, okay, now let me take this back to, so the page says nothing. You know, this is an alert because the user hasn't filled in anything, and user, when user even fills it, is not talking, because we just put that full name equals to document.getElement by ID, and then we'll put the ID name here, that value at the page load. As the page is loading, that's when we're getting the value, and at that point nobody has fills in anything. All right, so what you really want to do is, when this form is submitted, that's when you want to, you know, do that alert so that you get that value. Okay, so what you would do would be to come here, when this form, on this form here, you can say on submit. So you have a lot of events here, or mouse over, or mouse out, and all of those. So on submit, that's when this form is submit. You say let's say you write you have a function called process form. I'm going to explain this a bit. So process form is like a function name. So in JavaScript we have what we call function name. Function is what you is an actionable, you know, process. So we have process form. You know, that's your naming. You are the one that name. You can name it anything you like. So when you say process form, you are going to have to come and define your function. So what you want is, you don't want this thing to fire empty. You know what it's doing right now is firing empty. When nothing is happening, it's just firing. When user hasn't even submit, he hasn't filled anything, he's just firing. So what you would do is, to declare a function in JavaScript, you write function, you know, and then you then write your function name, and that is what you have defined here. So you ensure that the name, what you're the typings matches. So you have this way. All right, so this is the function name, and these are the procedure that you want happen with this function. So it's a function process form, and then you have this, and then I can then take this into this. Okay, now this is not going to fire empty, it's going to fire on submit, because we put this function on submit. That's when the form is submitted. Okay, so I'm going to have this that way. Now as you can see that alert is not coming up anymore, so I can come here and say Kenny, and put a dummy email, password, biology, Kenny 123, Kenny 123. Right now there's no validation whether this is and this matches. It doesn't matter. Now when I click on submit now, you then say Kenny because this is a Kenny that I put here. So this is working as I expect right now. So the next thing we will need to do is to get the input for the rest. So this is full name. We got the full name this way. So if you're using some sort of a library, you could use serialize, or if you want to use even just a plain JavaScript, we could use spread operator. But I don't want to stress you too much on this. Just let's keep it basic. So I want to take it one after the other. So I have name equals to that. I have email equals to this. Similar way. Documents dot get element by ID, and I put the ID name. The ID name here is email. That's what you use here. Email dot val. If you like, you can do an alert of each of them as you're working along, and then username. So username equals to documents dot get elements by ID. Yeah. Dot get element by ID, and you have username. That's the as you type it in here. Username dot val. So you get the rest. Okay. Now I'm going to get the password and confirm password. So let's say password equals to documents dot get elements by ID. Then I have get element by ID password. Ensure that you have dot value, then confirm password. So you want to be able to tell the person if confirm password and passwords do not match. Get element by ID. So let's say C password, and then say value. Now you want to be able to say if value, if password. You want to compare this. You want to compare password and confirm password, and to do this you use an if statement. Okay, so an if statement is when you say if, then you put the condition here, and then what you want happen would come in here. That this will be the action. So your condition will be to confirm, to compare password. If password is not equals to, okay, this is a comparison operator. Comparison operator, we have equals to, we have not equals to, we have greater than, we have less than or equals to, greater than or equals to. So you have things like, so equals to is written like double equals to, this equals to. So this is greater than or equals to. This is less than or equals to. This is not equals to. This is not equals to. Okay. So these are comparison operator that you want to use. Of course, this is greater than and this is less than. Okay. So if I put this right here in my code, it's not going to work because of this. So let's comment it out. This is comment in JavaScript, and this is comment in HTML. This is comment in HTML, and this is comment in JavaScript. So if you want to write a comment, you can write it yourself, or you can use control slash. So irrespective of the language you're writing, if it's HTML, you can use control slash. It helps you to write the ID writes it for you. You can write it yourself. And then if you're writing JavaScript, just you put control slash, it gives you the comment. This is a single line comment, and the multiple line comment is this. So comments are not executable. It's just you're just writing something in your code, maybe a kind of instruction so that when you come back to your code later on, you don't get confused in the code that you've written. So you can see how I've used comment here, so to just explain this once, and I just left it there in my code, and when I run it, it's going to run. But if I remove this now and I run it, it's going to be telling me that there's an error, and because of that, it's not going to run. So I say if password is not equals to confirm password, is not equals to C password, then tell the user alert password mismatch or password do not match. Okay, otherwise alert full name. So if you look at it now, so we're saying if password does not match with the confirmed password, the value we got from the confirmed password, we tell the users that the password do not match. Otherwise, we go ahead and tell user you're cool, your full name is this. Okay, I can do this that. So if we refresh this page right here, and I put this Kenny, I put email or something, I put username Kenny, I put password, intentionally I put password 1, and then here I put something different. And then when I do this, so I get Kenny, and Kenny adds that. So when you look at that, you have this. Now you can see that it's not doing what you. So when you see stuff, there is an error. So if you want to inspect, now you're writing JavaScript, you want to inspect what is making it not to work. So you can right click on that, and then you click on the inspect, or you use your Ctrl Shift I. Then when you do that, you'll see this element is showing you your HTML DOM, whatever it is that you've written. You can see all the script that we've written into our page is what is showing here in the element. And then if I go into console, this will be telling me some things. So you can look at that. That's where I debug my code and see if there are errors. So I have that. Let's say I have something like this, and I have something else here. So when I submit this, so you see it shows me something briefly, and then it left, and that's because the form gets submitted and all of that. So but if you look at it properly, you'll see that the password that we set here, and the ID is password, quite alright, but the password, the confirmed password, the ID is confirmed password, is not C password. So if you come here and you see that we're getting the ID by C password, so what we're supposed to put here is confirm password. So we're getting the confirmed password by confirmed password and not C password. So this is what is supposed to be here. Okay, when you save that, and then we have that refreshed, then we can have the form again, put whatever password that you have here, put another password here, and then when you do that, then you have the alert. So if you look at it, you have this. So intentionally, so let's have Kenny, I have another password type. So it's not saying anything. That's because probably there's an error, so you want to inspect. So when you inspect this, so you have it in the console like saying that cannot reach property value of null at processes and all of that thing. So it means that there's an error here, there's an error here. Okay, so if you look at it properly, what you have here is confirm password, and then when you look at your this thing here, what you have here is C password. So what you want is what you want to write would be confirm password and not. So what you have here is should be confirm password, the same way you wrote it in the ID of the. So if we look at it now, we see that it's talking. Yeah, so you can see that it's talking now. So but if the password matches, if the password matches, then it says my name, the name that I put there. So but what I really want to do is to send it to a remote server. So the person has filled in this form and we want to be able to register the person real time. So in an ideal situations, you have a back end, and then you have what you're working on is the front end. So now you want to send your data without any framework, no jQuery, no nothing, and no libraries. So just raw JavaScript. So what we're going to be using is a very simple, achievements in JavaScript. Over time, this fetch method, is a big deal right now. Before, to make a request, a JS requires, etc. request in JavaScript, sometimes used to be cumbersome. It's not clean, and that's why people have to look for libraries for help. Okay, so now the fetch method is pretty much like your own process form method that you wrote yourself, but then this is written into JavaScript, so you just use it. You don't have to, without having to work for it. So it's a gift. So and that is has that it takes pretty much two parameters. The first one is where. So where, that's the first one. That's where is the server? Where are you making requests to? Where are you getting data from? Or where are you sending data to? So you are going to have to specify the server where you're making requests to. Okay, and the second parameter is what? What are you sending, or what are you getting? How are you getting it? So there are different methods of getting or sending. So we have this method called post, get, put, and delete. These are various methods that we use in sending or getting data from server. So or also updating or deleting data. Okay, so the first one will be where you specify the data and the API here, the endpoint, and then you specify the what here. What are you sending? How are you sending it? And the format of you're sending it with. So you're going to have that way. So now, so my where is I make an endpoint that we're going to be using for this. So I have HTTPS. So I have something like this. So normally your endpoint will be given to you. It's not something that you make up. It will have been designed, and and the person, whoever it is, whoever it is at the back end, will give you the endpoint URL. So you have your endpoint URL, and so you have that. So this is how I made this my own, and this is it. And so like I said, what is expecting the method. Which method are you using? So the method will be known. So in this case, is post that we're using to process the data. So some other time it could be get that you're using to process the data. Another time it could be put when you're updating records, or delete if you're using deleting records. So in this case, I'm posting to server. So I use post method, and this will equally be known as well. It's not something that you make up. So it will be also given to you. So the next thing will be, what am I even sending? The data that you are sending to the server. So what I would like to do will be to write a proper structure here. Let's say I have data, and then I have the expected structure. So I'm going to have to make a JSON structure. So this thing is expecting full name in the format that is expecting. I made this endpoint so I know what is expecting, so it depends on what your endpoint is expecting. So full name, I'm going to pass in the name I got from the form. Okay, then email is expecting email as well. I'm going to pass in the email I got from the form. Then username, like this camel case, I'm going to have username I got from the form, this one, and then it's expecting new password. These are called this password. New password equals to, I'm going to pass in the password I got from the form. Okay, so another thing that is expecting which is not in the form is a configuration. So I say is enabled, so don't worry too much about this. It depends on how the backend person is configured it. So we have is enable equals to true, and then the roles of the user. So we have the roles of the user, so the user can have multiple roles, and let's say user. Now, so this is the data I'm sending, and this is the expected structure, that's the server. So another time this is JSON. Some other time you're sending plain text. You can send URL encoded, something like this. Okay, something like name equals to this and something equals to that. That's URL encoded. So but this time around I'm setting data as that, so I'm going to have this as data. So I have this like this. Then the header, I'm going to specify the data type, and that's going to be through the headers. So in the headers I have the content type, so I have that to be application JC. So I have that method post, body, and all like that. So when you send this data, you're going to have some sort of, so this is a fetch. So fetch method, this is where I'm sending it to, the method I'm using, the data I'm sending, like that. And when fetch is done, it returns a result. So I can wait for it, so, and that's what they call then. So when it's done, I have function. So I can say data, I say do this after that when you're done. So I say alert congrats, and I save this. So when you do this, so it's expecting a strong password. So keep your eyes on network this time around. So you can see that it says congrats, but then you see something that is 400. Each time you see a 400 or 401, whatever it is an error. So you can see that it's saying cannot deserialize the JSON object and all of that. So what you want to do will be, when you are sending this data, let it be in string format. So you stringify that. Okay, so password do not match, I guess. So you can see now true one, congrats. So everything works fine now. So this user is successfully registered. So this is pretty much how easy it is to, send data to a remote server. Specify the method that you want to use, and specify the content type, the kind of content you're sending, like that. So if you look at that request, um, if you look at it, if you look at the header, so you see several things in the header. That's what you're specifying, and then this is what you specify. So you can pass any other thing into the header, and you can grab stuff from here and know its value. So you can have that. This is the response header, this is the request header, and all of that, and this is the data that you sent them. Okay, so I would just advise you to go through the video and over and over again to see where you might be confused, and try to smoothen things out by watching it over and over again. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this. Your project is waiting for you. Thank you.